Okay, let's make sure everything's muted. Get Twitter sent out. Everything's everything's sent out, and we should be good. So, hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is March 10th, and this is the March 10th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on loading screens for the demo, specifically the sewers to the castle loading screens. Well, and vice versa. And I've already laid out what I want to do there. It's going to be fairly simple. We're not. I think I'm actually going to move away from having these things be mini games because the loading times on a lot of levels is actually fairly small, and I don't think it's really worth the effort to put in a mini game for a loading screen when that loading screen will automatically clean itself up and close when the level is done loading, and will maybe only last 5-ish seconds sometimes. Sometimes it lasts 10, but really it's nothing really that long. So, and since I want to have ASCII art indicative of where you are, or rather where you're transitioning to, I think it's better just to have a nice pleasant visual with some flavor text. I think that'll make things a little bit easier, and a little bit more enjoyable. So, for the transition from the castle to the sewers, since we go down a set of stairs to get from the castle to the sewers, I would like the transition for that to be pretty much the same thing. So we're going to have the hero here going down step by step. And for the most part, this is actually going to be a fairly straightforward, I don't know what to call these, I guess. They're just loading screens. And we're not really going to do anything too crazy. We're basically just going to have, let me go ahead and manually move him so that everything can look super professional. Basically what's going to happen is, one, I need to center this guy actually, and set his width to be, I don't know, 50, probably 64, and a height of, I want to say 256. Almost. 224. 200? Okay. Anyway, and actually, now that I think about it, he is going to, we really should do this, probably something like this, pivot of 0. There we are. So the idea here is that we're going to have our player character just kind of go from step to step to step to step. Wow, really did not like me dragging that apparently. And then step to step to step to step to step, and so on until we get to the bottom. Now, the idea for this loading screen is that this is going to be going on while the screen is scrolling, so pretty much the hero is kind of always going to be in the center of the screen. He's not really ever going to actually go down like this. Instead, he'll be traveling down, and it'll look like he's traveling down the stairs, but his relative y-axis on the screen will be kind of centered like this. It's just that the stairs will be scrolling at the same speed that he is moving down, basically. And we are also going to do a little bit of a visual treat. Well, treat. I say that like it's something crazy. Whenever the hero is moving down steps to the right, those are the steps closest to the camera, which means that the hero will be in front of the steps behind him, or her, or it. And when the hero is going down the steps, you can see up here there's a little bit of an overlap with the previous labels, or the previous steps. The hero will actually be behind those steps. So it's a small touch, but it's to give a sense of depth as the player travels down. Okay, so I've set up, I think the label is pretty much, I think the labels are pretty much everywhere we need them to be. Although we might, not sure how we want to do that. I'm not sure if I want to have like torches or something. Or lights to just kind of have those be somewhere like over here. Actually, let me go ahead and put the hero right there. That's not going to be the final position for the hero, but we're just going to store him there for now. I'm going to go ahead and make a new TextMesh Pro label. We will go ahead and give it the correct font, and we'll just say light here. And for now, we'll tint this to be like a yellowish kind of. So I don't know if I want this. I don't know if I want to have light labels and have them kind of be staggered here. It's a little difficult because I want these these triangular areas to be filled with flavor text. Not always, but sometimes. And I guess actually in cases like that, we might actually have these lights, instead of having them be set on the label, they might actually move along with it, basically. Um, and that's going to be actually somewhat difficult, isn't it? Well, no, it should be fine. And basically what we'll do is we'll decide if we want a light or if we want a bit of flavor text. Because we probably don't want flavor text every single angle. That's probably going to get a little hard to read. So we probably do like light, flavor text, light, flavor text, light, flavor text, and so on. So basically one side has flavor text and one side has light, I guess. Yeah, I like that. So the real trick here is going to be, let's go ahead and name this label. And real quick. I really need to set up a noise gate. Ugh. Crap, lost my place. So the main thing is the actual stair label is not that big, and that's because what we're going to do is as we move it, we're just going to kind of save real quick. We're going to scroll. Wrong thing. We're going to scroll the stairs upwards as the player moves down, and when it reaches a certain point, what we'll do is we'll just basically snap this back down so that it wraps seamlessly, and hopefully that will be at a point where it's unnoticeable, where it's not noticeable. So it's basically we don't need a label larger than this because we can just kind of seamlessly loop this version of it. And the real trick there is going to be making sure that we can still move our lights and our flavor text correctly, in addition to positioning our hero correctly. So this is going to be interesting. Yeah, now that I think about it, that basically means that our hero isn't actually ever going to move down. He is just going to kind of do like this. Like that. And the idea is that the stairs will move up while that's happening to make it look like the hero is moving down. And we do have two special animations that we have to account for. One is obviously showing up, so the start of the level loading, which would look something probably like this. Yeah, it'd probably look something like this. So we'd start here, have the hero be up here, and then we would start moving and scrolling at the same time. But we also need to make sure that when we scroll our stairs, so when I zero that out, you can see that the steps are being rendered over our loading bar. They need to be masked. Ideally, that's going to be with a gradient. We might have to fudge that a little bit, but that'd probably be fine. And that just means that we want to have, let's see. That gets a little more annoying, doesn't it? Ooh, can we, let's see, we have a gradient, I know that. I have gradient down here, which I guess actually we'd want gradient up. Let's go ahead and give this a quick mask. So I'm going to give this a new image. Right click, create UI, image. Okay, I'm going to drag in gradient up. So you can see that it fades out gradually. Oh good, I already do that. Oh, hooray. I was a little worried that this was going to be annoying. And the idea is that we'll stretch this out to fill up pretty much everything, and we'll make this just our mask. So I'll say mask. We'll move this up to here. We'll position everything else below it, and we will add a mask component. UI, give it a mask. We're not going to show mask graphic. All right. So now when we scroll this up, it still doesn't support it. Are you serious? That's so disappointing. I see. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Dang it, I thought we had gradients at this point, but I guess not, which means I need to do something kind of annoying. I basically want to do instead of having a mask, we're actually going to change it to an overlay because of course we are. Alright, so we're going to move this over to there. We're going to get rid of this mask, remove this component, let's position U at 0. Okay. We are also going to change this to our gradient down. So we want gradient down. And basically what's going to happen is we're going to make this black. And we are going to have this. Let's see here. Ooh, that's not really that great now, is it? Well, let's see. Minigame area is 0.1. That is very annoying. Okay. I was kind of going to do the reverse of what we were doing. So instead of using it as a mask, I was just going to use it as a cover for the most part. We could probably also help this by moving our minigame area below the loading bar, which makes sense. And then I'm going to change this mask to be, instead of taking this entire area, we are going to... Ah, geez, I really don't want to handle it like that. But I probably have to. Okay. So this is going to take a little bit more of a overhaul than I would like. This mask is now going to be stretched across the top. Pivot 1, 0. We are going to give it a height of, we'll actually make it fairly small at probably something like 64. That's probably a bit much, but it's fine for now. And you can see that it's getting rid of things and it's actually looking like a gradient now. So the idea there is that we want to change this so it is... This is annoying, but how to set this up correctly. We want this to be at our top, and we want everything else to move in underneath it, and then we... Oh, right, that's what I need. So my root here needs to have a rect mask 2D. There we go, got rid of everything else outside of it. It's a little annoying that we have to do that, but that's fine. Preset U to 0. Okay, make sure that they didn't pop up. So now nothing outside of this rect area will be shown, which is fine. And our actual mask isn't really a mask, it's more of just a gradient that's being used to cover it up. But you can see that things kind of seamlessly fade into the dark here. We are having a problem with that, though, because it's not a very large... Not really a very large size. Oh, that's really annoying. Okay, so we're going to change you to simple. And then we're going to change you back to black. Okay, so let's try moving this up again. There we go. That's a little bit better. So now everything will sort of seamlessly fade off in the distance there. And it'll look like it's kind of just disappearing off screen, which is better than it just getting cut off and carved off by the loading bar there. Okay, so we're going to set our position at 0 there. The other question is, do I want to have a similar mask at the top or at the bottom? It probably wouldn't hurt, which probably means that I can just do this. I'm going to call this mask. Have this stretch the entire way. Have this be the top. Okay. We're going to duplicate that. It's going to be pretty much the exact same, but on the bottom. Cool. And we're going to change our gradient from gradient down to gradient up. Pretty much same thing. Well, it should be anyway, but it's not. Interesting. Oh, it's because I gave it a height of 0. That's why position should be 0. There we go. So now for our stairs, now go ahead and rename that to bottom. So now if we move our stairs around, you can see that they kind of fade in off screen and they also disappear off screen. So that makes our transition a little bit nicer, I think. I would like to really move my gradient further down. I don't like that it takes so long to get to it. Why is that, actually? That's kind of weird. Oh, it's because it went back to being sliced. So let's change you to... I'm sorry, not that. Although I don't need the recast target. We want to change you to simple. There we go. So now, when we drag our stairs around, you can see that it's a much smoother situation. Okay. So, let's go ahead and I'm going to turn off delay here. We're going to test out our minigame. And actually, do I have a... I feel like I have a loading screen test area. I do, right there. That's fun. I want to jump over to that real quick. Because I thought I had set something up to basically allow us to specify what we wanted it to be. Revert. There it is. Test loading minigame. Okay. Okay, yeah. So let's go back to our splash screen. Alright, we are going to open up everything here. And let's go ahead and position our stairs back at 0. And I guess actually our stairs will start at... So... Thinking... there-ish? Seems about right. Okay. And... now the real question is, can I get this to ignore Z ordering? Well, not Z ordering, but can I fudge this ordering? I thought, here we are. Wait, really? Can I just do it like that? Nope. That does nothing. How disappointing. Okay. That gets a little complicated. It just means I was hoping that I would be able to just set up like an int value for the layering and I could fudge it, but I guess UGUI stuff does not have fudging, which makes sense because it's supposed to use the the order of things in the hierarchy. Which means that instead of having hero label always be where it is, we basically need to move it around between two parents, which is not the best, but it's not terrible either. So we're going to have two things that stretch to fill the entire area. One is going to be called front, and one's going to be called back. Call that back. 111. Move that up to here. And our hero label will now, front will be there. So our hero label will, of course, start at back. And you can see that it's now behind, it's rendered behind our steps. So we would have it start here, move down. Once it gets to the end, it's going to start going backwards, at which point he's now behind the steps. And then when he starts coming back around again, he's going to be in front of them. So we'll have to basically move the hero back and forth from being parented to back or front. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and open up our minigame here. I started coding it, but I haven't actually done anything with it. I've just been thinking about, well, I was thinking about names and requirements for the fields here. So we are going to need the stairs. We are going to need the player label. That is very much true. After that, we are going to need a couple of things. We're going to say serialize field, private, void, not void, private float scroll speed is equal to, I don't know, we'll say 1F by default. That's going to be how many movements it makes per second. Similar to how when we do the level transition between woods and the plains, we have that kind of like walking speed and the speed that the trees scroll at. We're pretty much going to do that. Um, Although if I want to keep that low tech ASCII aesthetic, I probably should make things a little bit more jumpy. I was planning on doing a smooth transition, um, but I guess we would probably want it to be. Well, no, I think we can move in twos. So we're gonna move in this type of sequence. So we're gonna have the hero go up. Oh, sorry, this is gonna be really awkward. We're gonna go up, then down, then up, then down, then up, then down. And this is every time I'm saying up and down, picture that as a frame. So we're not lerping to these positions. We're just suddenly going to be at them. And then every time the hero comes down, they will be at the same vertical position that they were originally, and the scroll or the stairs would have scrolled up by one step. So this is a bit of a precarious situation. The real challenge is going to be making sure that this looks right. Shoot. No, that's correct. Right? I always get a false positive here. Because we need to keep in mind that our aspect ratio at 16 by 10 is going to be this, which is still correct, I believe. So if we scroll the stairs up. Yes, okay. So it's a little, takes a little getting used to. It's very, very hard to see it in the editor, but that's, yeah. As long as it works at 16 by 9 and 16 by 10, which they have the same width, so as long as we don't really care about width, or care about height, which we don't really for this, then we should be fine. For the most part, I am a little actually worried about position initially, but after that it should be fine. Okay, so, oops. Again, we're going to just real quickly reposition everything. So we want the hero to think. I guess we're probably going to do something similar to what we were doing with the plains to woods transition, where we'll have a rect transform that we use and then we subdivide. So we'll say we'll need a field for how many steps we want. Go ahead and say serialize field, private int, private int step count. We'll say, what is that by default? That's roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like. Okay. So this is going to be tooltip, number of steps moved in a given direction. Okay, scroll speed is how often to... I don't want to call it like frame rate or anything like that, but I guess how quickly. Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay. We will also need a rect transform. So we're going to say serialize field, private rect transform. This is going to be our player area. Okay. And from there, we're going to have a bunch of fun figuring out how to properly position everything. Jeez. We're also going to have a lot of fun figuring out how to push the player off screen at the very end, but we'll take this one step at a time, and we'll address that issue when we get to it. Okay, so on initialize, we are going to want... I guess we'll also probably want a couple of things. So let's say serialize field, private float, start position. Start position is equal to. Probably don't even have it selected, so I can't really tell that. Yeah. Negative 710. Okay. And what else do we need? We will also want. Yeah, geez, yeah. This is a little. Well, no, I guess the hero doesn't really need to move at all. Okay. So on So on initialize, we're going to have to handle how we want the player positions to work. So we are going to say private. I guess it would be vector 2s. No. Well, yeah, I guess it would be vector 2s. Well, no. Okay, give me a second. I think it's going to be vector 2s. We'll say player positions. New vector 2. If I could type. That's because I hit enter. Okay, so the thing we need to calculate are basically the intervals here. So I need to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9 steps. I want 9 intervals. And our player positions, which for some reason, well, I guess I haven't really assigned it yet. Let's go ahead and start assigning things. So we have hero label. We have, is that what I called it? Player area? I did. Okay. We have a couple of things actually with that. So we have stairs that we need there. So player area is going to be one thing, and then we're also going to need to say serialize field, private rect transform front area, then serialize field, private rect transform back area. Go ahead and tooltip these. So I'll say rect transform to parent hero label to when it is behind stairs. Let's go ahead and grab you up to here. When it is in front of stairs. I'll say tooltip rect transform used to calculate player position when traversing stairs. Okay. Save that. We will also go ahead and load that. Well, not load it, but let it compile. And we're probably going to need an initial position for the hero as well as a vector 2. So we'll call this start stairs position, followed by, well, preceded by private vector 2 start player position. Okay, so for this, we are going to want to have, I think, okay, I want to do a couple of things. So first up, I'm going to say private rect transform player transform. Okay, so on initialize here, I'm going to say if player transform is equal to null, then player transform is equal to player label dot rect transform. Okay, and then I'm going to say player transform dot anchored position, I believe is what we're going to want. Anchored position is equal to start player position. then stairs dot anchored position is equal to new vector 2. You know what? I guess I might as well make this a vector 2 as well. So we'll say vector 2 is equal to new vector 2. It'll be 0f and then that. So we'll say is equal to start stairs position. Okay. And that should position everything. After that, we need to start moving the player. So we'll let that compile real quick. I'm going to take a drink. Okay. Gotta stretch. It is. It's going to be a little bit of a... Well, I'm not going to say it's going to be a long dev stream. I actually think I have family coming over around 5. So we're probably going to be a little shorter than I normally go on Saturdays. But, I mean, we're going to go probably until 5. Because they're not visiting for dinner or anything. They're just stopping by to say hi. Alright, so we want to drag in player back area, the front area, then the player area itself, which is nowhere right now. So let's go ahead and add that in. Should I just... I kind of think I should. Okay. So let's go ahead and just center this. Oh, I can't do that. That's stupid. Why would I do it like that? It's just going to be stretched across there with a height of 0. Because we don't actually care about it having any visible properties. We just need its actual coordinates. Okay, so this is going to be our player area. Okay. And we'll go ahead and drag that in. All right. So let's go ahead, say play there, and I'm going to turn off my light label real quick. Okay. Also, we'll call this masks. All right. So we are going to calculate out our positions here. So we'll say player positions is equal to new vector 2 step count. Okay, and then after that, we're going to want to do rect player area. Is that what I want to call it? I think that's just what I called the actual. Yeah, okay. So we'll say player rect is equal. We'll say player area rect is equal to area dot rect. Okay, and from there we're going to want to say let's see, so we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than, not greater than, is less than step count, I plus plus, and we're going to say, first step, I'm going to get rid of that. I hate how it sometimes auto-formats my code. So after that, we're going to want to say player positions of I is equal to, this is the vector 2, which really sucks. Does it need to be a vector 2? I don't know. Well, yeah, probably should be. Okay, well, but it's always going to be the same height. So that seems rather pointless. But if it's going to be moving and I want to reference these all the time, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to want to say is equal to new vector 2, and we'll say the x is what we care about, so I'm going to say 0 for now. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Y is always going to be 0f. Okay, so for the x, we want to say this is equal to mathf.lerp from 0 to from 0 to a step. This is, I'm already doing this a little crazy. From 0 to step count. No, I lied. This is from 0f to player area rect.width based on mathf.inverse lerp from, okay, from, so this is going to be 0f to step count followed, or based on I believe, right? Okay, so that we should do there, and that should properly give that. Okay. We're also going to want to have, we'll say float width, well, no, we'll say step width is equal to player area rect dot width divided by step count. Let's convert that to a float. Okay, so that gives us the width of the step, and I need to add half of a width to all of my x values here. Otherwise, I'll be out the far left of the step, and I want to be in the center. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to say plus step width, and we'll go ahead and wrap this and divide it by 2, or multiply by times 0.5. 0.5, jeez, would not go. Okay, so that should handle our actual positions. And then from there, I need to do a couple of other things. We're going to need to have a private int player index is equal to 0. That's going to be the step the player is on. And basically, this is going to be a yo-yo, so it's going to be 0 at the far left, whatever our step count is at the far right, and then once we reach either the far left or the far right, we're just going to start going in the other direction. So I'll start at 0, do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, so on and so on. Okay, so actually I guess we'll go up to 8 because of, indexes. So let's see, I am probably going to want, let's go ahead and close some of the things that I don't really need anymore. Do I want to do this in update? I honestly don't remember if I did that here. Did I do all of this in update? I want to say I did. I did. Okay, good. Then we're going to do it in update. So I'm going to need to come down here and say private void update. Alright, so once we have update set up, we're going to want to say if is active. Then we're going to do stuff. And we're going to say actually, the way I set this up, did I have a speed or did I have a delay between? Let's see how long it takes flavor text. Time before flavor text is displayed. Path start, path length, obstacle, range, obstacle speed. Here we are. How long an obstacle rests at each path interval. Okay. Yeah, so that was actually more duration based instead of speed based, and I just had everything kind of move on its own, which is perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and clear this, and we're going to want, so we're going to want to change this from scroll speed to like step duration, which will just be how long the player stands on each step before moving to the next one. Okay, let's go ahead and let that all compile. Oh, and you know what I should have open? Ta-da! Okay, so we'll let that finish compiling. And I'm actually curious to know if our positioning is correct. So we'll get that settled up in update. Oh, jeez. We're going to have a bit of a hard time with this. I'm actually kind of curious. I'm going to convert this over to 16 by 10 real quick. It's already looking a little sketchy. We need to bump this up to 800 width. Okay. Is that the like exact same height? Ooh, and is my stairs at the correct position? Stairs are at the correct position. Okay. So we want to, I guess we don't need to change anything, but I'm going to keep an eye on this. So it's about the length of my mouse pointer away from the steps there. Change our UI back to 720. It's about the same. It's a little bit wider, actually, or a little bit more of a gap, actually, in 16 by 9. But that's fine. Okay, so player is at negative 565 position. Can we make that like 8? About 0. Okay, so negative 565. Let's come up here. So our player position is just at negative 565. Okay, and okay, the height increment is going to be the annoying thing. So, so we have step duration. Let's go ahead and serialize field private float. Step move amount is equal to, I honestly don't know, 10F for now, I guess. It's probably way more than that. Basically, this is the amount that the steps need to move whenever they move up or down. And we need to make sure that they behave appropriately. Come on, Unity. I believe in you. You can do it. Maybe. Okay, there we go. So 10 would be... Wow. Oh, yeah, we got to do like way more than 10. That'd be negative 7. Negative 700, not negative 70. So 10 is not enough. We probably want something like that. So I'm guessing 60. 55. Okay. So that is a difference of what, 30 or not 35, 55 difference. Yep, 55. So let's go ahead and bump that up. We're going to say 55, and we'll reset our stairs back at 710. All right. So the trick is going to be, we want to, yeah, this is going to be fun. Let's see. I am also going to want to do serialized private float step position. Oof. And we'll say step positioning, and then we're going to say is equal to 0.5 by default. I'm going to go ahead and say range from 0F to 1F. Okay. And we're actually going to do some adjustments here. We're going to make our player positions. In addition to that, we're going to have a private float step width is equal to 0F by default. We're going to change step width to be equal to that, and we're not going to multiply it by 0.5, and we are not going to subtract step width or add step width because we are going to manually position that player, and whenever we want to position them, we're going to add whatever our positioning is. Which, actually, no, I don't need to do that. Instead, I can do this. I'll just say plus mathf.lerp from 0f to step width based on step positioning. There we go. So same thing that we were doing before for the most part, because I want it to be in the center by default. But this allows me to position anywhere on the step. And I also want to, no, we'll do center stuff for now. So we'll let that all compile. I want this to be fairly centered. I guess I don't really need a player start position, do I? Because they're going to move to that start position anyway. But it's fine. Okay, so in update, we want to say, let's see, so step duration is 1F. So let's go ahead and say, oh, you know what, I need something else too. We have step count, so we're going to go ahead and say serialize. Wow, that was not at all right. I hit the wrong button. Serialize field, private float, step offset, I guess, is equal to, I don't know, we'll do 25F. That seems like a good amount by default. Make you 55. So this step offset is going to be the amount of verticality the player gets when they move from step to step, because they're going to move in kind of like a triangular arc. They're going to go like up, down, up, down, up, down. And the step offset will tell how far up we go before we go back down. Okay. Let's see. We are also going to want to have private float step. Okay. We'll say cooldown is equal to 0F. Okay. So now in update, we're going to say if cooldown is less than or equal to, I don't know, we'll say is less than, well, yeah, it's less than or equal to 0F. Then we'll say cooldown is equal to step duration. Okay. Else we'll say cooldown minus equals time.delta time. Okay. In addition to this, we are going to move our steps up. So we'll say steps dot anchor. What? Oh, right, because I called them stairs. Dot anchored position. Is that just a getter? Oh, good, it is a get set. But I probably can't do what I would actually want to do. So I'm gonna have to say is equal to. Well, no. Hold on. Okay, I need a counter, I guess. So I have my player index. Thinking. Okay. So my index is going to be a little weird for this. It's not going to be 0 to 9 or 0 to 8. It's going to actually be 0 to 16. And that's because we're going to have at 0, we're on the ground on the first step. At 1, we are in the air going between the first step and the second step. At 2, I'm on the ground on the first or on the second step. At 3, I'm in the air between the second and the third step. At 4, I'm on the third step, so on and so on. Basically, I just have twice as many indexes so that I can know what I'm doing here. So I want to say if player index modulo 2 is greater than 0, then we're going to do something else. Okay. So if it's greater than 0, that means we want to be between things. So I'm going to say, how do I want to do this? Player rect, right? That's what I called it. Or no, player transform. Player transform dot anchored position is equal to player positions of player index minus 1 divided by 2. Oh dear. Yeah, no, that's correct. So at 1, it would be 0 divided by 2, which is 0, which is what we want. At 2, it would be... No, this is if it's an odd number, basically. So at 1, it would be 1 minus... Yes, this is right. Okay. Because I essentially want this to do this. I'm actually going to not do that calculation here. I'm going to say vector 2 new pose is equal to this, and then we're going to say is equal to new pose. Okay, and we're going to say vector 2.lerp from this to this, and then I'm going to say +1 instead of -1. So this would be, oh yes, and then based on, hold on, sorry, 0.5f. Okay, so the idea here is that we're going to lerp between the step that we're currently on and then the next step, and then we are going to apply a vertical offset, and then we're finally going to apply our positioning there. So we want to say player index, which let's assume we're at 1. So we're taking the step off of the first step where we spawned. That's going to be 1 minus 1 is 0 divided by 2. That gets us player position 0, our very first step. Then player position, or player index, which is 1, plus 1, which is 2, divided by 2, which is 1. So that'll get us our new player position, which is the next one. And we're going to go halfway between those by default. We'll eventually, I think, open this up so that I can get more of like a kind of like forward leap and then a shallow ending or something. So this number will be adjusted. And then after that, we're going to say new pose dot y plus equals step offset. Okay, and then finally we'll set our anchored position to be equal to new pose. And if we are not at an odd index, then I'm going to go ahead and just say player transform dot anchored position is equal to player positions of player index divided by 2. And that should be simple. So because this can only be even, so it's either going to be 0, 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, at which point they'll be subdivided by, wait, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it'd be 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, up to 16, and then it gets divided cleanly. So this should, I think, do what we want. So we should be able to test this real quick. I think everything's plugged in. Oh, right. And once we do this, we are also going to want to move our stairs up. So I'm going to say stairs dot anchored position, and I'm not going to worry about wrapping right now. Is equal to stairs dot anchored position plus, actually no, crap. Yeah, that's fine. Plus new step move amount. Yeah, I guess that's true. We'll just do new vector to 0f step move amount. Okay. I think that's pretty good. So let's see if that's even remotely correct. I'm honestly very curious just to see the behavior here. Okay, everything more or less seems about right. For our player area, we might actually be a little too wide. I think we're going to be a little biased towards the edges, but it's probably fine for now. And let's go ahead and just collapse this, make our alpha 0, and I'm going to add the test thing. So I'm going to say test is probably not good enough. I'm going to say the test loading minigame. Okay, grab this, hit save, and we're not going to load into the next scene by default, so I should just have to hit space and it should play it. So let's see what happens. Oh, interesting. Well, the movements themselves are probably a little too much, actually. Why? Oh, wait. Oh, it's because N key is space. So it just automatically starts. Clearly, our positioning is not correct. We never seem to do anything here. Oh, come on. Yeah, turn off maximize on play. Yeah, we're not moving at all here. Anchored position is always at 71, which is element 0. Oh, you know why? It's because I never increment that index. Duh. Okay, so that means I do need to have a bool check actually here. So I want to say cooldown. I want to say private bool index increment is equal to false. Okay, I think by default that's what I want. So we're going to say here index increment. Nope. No. Okay, so we're going to say if player index is equal, no, let's say less than or equal to 0, or player index is greater than or equal to step count minus 1, we're going to say increment index is equal to not increment index. I'm sorry, index increment. And then what we're going to do after all of this is we're going to say I guess we'll actually do that before this if else, won't we? So we'll say if index increment, we'll say player index plus plus, else player index minus minus. Okay. That should fix that issue. Although, given how off our player positioning was, I'm a little worried. I'm a little concerned that things will not turn out as I hope on the rect calculations. Alright. Normal here, and let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay. Wow! I honestly can't tell if my frame rate's super low. That's what's very annoying about these things. It's because they move in those awkward positions. But wow, he is shooting off somewhere. Somewhere that he is not supposed to be. Oh, right. Right. That is because our anchor is in here. So to make this be correct, I want to basically subtract half of my entire rect width here. So after all of this fun stuff, after all of those lerps, I want to say minus player area rect dot width divided by, we'll say times 0.1. 5F. Okay. That should help position everything correctly. Let's try that again. And hopefully this time I won't have my my player shoot off to the right. Although I'm a little concerned. It seems like our offsets are incorrect. Is that because I'm... Well, now I'm doing Y. Okay, we'll see what happens. I think that our player offset, whenever we jump between stairs, is being calculated incorrectly. It gets us way too unpredictable of a result. Okay, so let's see. So we should have 1, up, 2, up. Okay, it's like almost correct. Also, we're slowly moving down, which is not good. Yeah. Okay. Let me go ahead and fix this. I need to change when we switch incrementing, which is going to be is equal to step count times 2 minus 1, I believe. No, it'd be step count minus 1 times 2. Times 2. Okay. So I was only getting halfway down the stairs before we switched directions and started going back. I'm a little worried that my spacing between the steps is not consistent. That's going to make it very, very difficult if I have to kind of like sort of offset at different values every time we go down. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. And that's just because I'm not calculating position correctly yet. I am mostly curious as to why this calculation seems wrong. It seems like it's grabbing the wrong index. I don't know why that would be. I must be looking at it wrong. Well, let's see what it looks like now. Now that we don't just get halfway down the steps and then start going back through the steps. Okay, so we have 1 down, 1 down. It's like it gets farther and farther away each time. Like you can see it getting farther and farther. What the heck? And now it's not even... Okay, we're getting out of range exceptions here, which means that I am calculating that incorrectly. I am definitely calculating that incorrectly. Okay. So... Well, no, how does that... Okay. So our player index value should be something between 0 and, I believe, 15, right? Because we want to be able to double our increment value so that we can do these in between jumps. But this is nulling out, which makes sense because it seems like we get farther and farther every time it tries to jump. So let's go through this math real quick. So at position 0, we're not going to use this, and this only gets called on odd numbers. So when we're at position, index 1, 3, 5. So when we're in the air, jumping from step to step. So at position 1, we do 1 minus 1, which is 0, divided by 2, which is 0. And then at position 1, we'll do 1 plus 1, which is 2, divided by 2, which is 1. So that's the first two player positions. That's what we expect. Then at position 3, we're going to do 3 minus 1, which is 2, divided by 2. That's 1. Again, that's what we expect there. 3 is going to be 3 plus 1. That's 4, divided by 2, which is 2. That's also correct. As long as this is always 1, and this is 2, and then this is 2, and then this is 3, it should be correct, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So let's go for 5 minus 1 is 4, divided by 2, that's 2. 6, 3, that's correct, but it's clearly not. That must mean that my positions are wrong, then. Let's go ahead and play, and while this is playing, I'm going to pause, and we're going to kind of see what, we're going to take a look at what our, what it thinks that our positions are. Let's go over here. We're going to debug this. They should pretty much be perfect mirrors of each other. And that seems about right. So let's take a look at what our player areas are. I'm also going to go ahead and add a new inspector tab down here. I'm going to lock this just so that we can see. Let's debug you. I just want to be able to see what these elements are. Let's turn off your debug. Let's go to the player. Okay, so we're going to keep an eye on this. So again, this seems correct. This is our actual second position. Looks correct. Okay, so now we are lerping between that number is not right. That number is straight up element 3. We have a height that's at 25, which means that this is... Oh, wait, hold on. Nope, never mind. Interesting. So it's almost like it overshot. Like it went from element 1 to element 3 instead of element 1 to element 2. But why? I mean, that math should be correct, right? All we need to do is add +1 or -1 to the player index to get our rounded value, then divide by 2. That should get us our player positions. We should have 8. I'm sorry, 9. 0 to 8. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Interesting. Well. Why are you different? Step width of 142. That's about right. I'm assuming that we'll hit the index out of range exception again at some point. So let's go ahead and let this continue until we get that. We're halfway down. Now, okay. So now our player index is 9, 10, 11, at which point it doesn't work again, 12, at which point it's positioning horizontally correctly. I think we need to adjust our height values, obviously. Interesting. So, player index of 16 here. There we go. That's where it breaks. Okay. Wait, no, that's not correct because it can't get there. This would be at player index 15. So 15 would be 15 minus 1, 14, divided by 2, which is 7. 15 plus 1 divided by 2, which is 8. Those are all valid indexes. How are you... Player index at most, this could be 16, which means that it is going to be 8, which is, again, a valid index. I guess we'll debug this. Didn't want to have to worry about that, but sure, fine. I'm sorry, vector2 int. Int, there we go. Indexes is equal to new vector2 int. Okay, so we're just going to make these guys be our index values there. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and say debug.log indexes. All right, so this will output our expected values now. And if at any point those indexes exceed 16, then we will be doing something wrong. If they don't, then I don't really know why it's freaking out, because that is impossible for it to be incorrect then. Because 16 divided by 2 is always going to be, it's not, I mean, it's 8. It's 8. This is arithmetic. This is not that hard. Let's see. Okay, we're going to play 1, 1, 3, 3, 5, 5, 5, 5. Oh, dang it! Freaking parent. It's parents. It's because in arithmetic, and this is why I always wrap things, because when I don't, bad things happen. That's why. So the problem was that it was dividing 1 by 2 every single time, instead of subtracting 1 from player index, then divide it by 2. Rules of arithmetic for computer programming. If you are not aware of them, here are the rules. When you have... Jeez, I don't... Hold on. There. I really don't need that. Yes. When you have arithmetic that happens, so adding, subtracting, multiplication, and dividing, multiplication and division take priority over subtraction and addition. So if you have 1 minus 5 divided by 2, you're not going to subtract 5 from 1, then divide by 2. Instead, you're going to divide 5 by 2, then subtract that from 1. That's how that works. That's what was happening. That's why we were getting index out of range exceptions, because we were doing stupid things. Although it doesn't explain why it was out of range. Now that I think about it. Okay, well, let's let this go. Yeah, okay, so we need to change it so it's not 55. It's probably going to be something like 50. There we are. Okay. Yep, that's looking good. So let's go ahead and clear that. We're going to change our distance modifier. We'll say 50. I think. I'll save that. We'll try this again, see if we accelerate. So this is gonna it's kind of frustrating because we need to have like a delicate balance of we want to make sure that our player moves at the exact same amount that the stairs themselves do. So if it gets to be too much, it's already getting to be too much. Can't do that. Okay, so 50 is too much. We're gonna make that be 40. And if the player starts to drift off, then we'll need to make it 45, and then we'll kind of fine-tune it until we get it to look just right. I think the player's starting... Yeah, the player's starting to drift. It's very small, but the player is drifting. Okay, now we go back. All right. So a couple of other things too. Do this, and inside this if we're going to say player transform dot set parent, and it's either going to be index increment question mark. So if we're incrementing, that means we're going down, which means we need to be in the front. So we're going to say front area, and if it's not, then we need to go to the back. If it's decrementing, then it means we're going to the left, which means that we should be behind the front stairs. All right. So now we should be properly positioned, and that means that we're going to see one full complete set of zigzag. So we'll see it go to the right, go to the left, then go back to the right. And our player should be behind the stairs when we go left and in front of the stairs when we go right on the second time, because there's no stairs above us the first time. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. Let's see. So now we should have high octane stairs action. As soon as it decides to go, of course. Okay. So we have it moving up. Seems like it is surprisingly laggy, but clearly we're running at a pretty decent frame rate. But yeah, you can see that we're kind of biased towards the edges, so as we get farther to the right, we tend to actually drift from the center of the step to the right of the step. And as we get further to the left, we're going to drift from the center of the step to the left side of the step. It's a little annoying. We could fix that with some math adjustment. Okay, so yep, there we go. We are in front of the stairs this time. All right. I'm going to bump our distance to 45 for step move amount, because 40 is obviously starting to have the player drift off of the stairs. We want to try and get them as close as possible to the actual movement increments. So let's see what happens here. So we're going to get this done, and then once we're satisfied with the stair or step offsets, we are going to want to have 45. It's hard to tell if it's digging into it or getting away from it. I think it's slowly getting down closer to the steps. Okay. So we would need to change that to, I'm going to say 43. And now I have hiccups. So the next thing we need to handle is looping. We need to make sure that we reposition the steps whenever we get to a certain value. Probably can maximize this on play. Okay. I am actually going to also do this. Going to change our step duration to 0.25. We're going to make that 4 times as fast. So we just should just see our player go da 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 da. This is going to be fun. 43, we still seem to be drifting. Really, so 44, I guess, is kind of what we want. Okay. But for the most part, that seems correct. Cool. So let's go ahead and make that 44. And in addition to that, we will say, well, when would be a good time for us to wrap it? Well, before the bottom right. No, it would be, yeah, before, well, no. I guess it'd be before the bottom left the second time shows up. So probably whenever the bottom, no. Okay, so whenever the far right on the second set of stairs is positioned with the player, we will want to move the steps all the way down to have it loop. That should make it look correct. So 44, let's go ahead and take a look at this again. All right. So up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. Wow. Okay, 44 is too much, so I guess we're at 43. Oh, jeez. Try the 43.5. We're going to have to get it between those two values. Okay. So I'm going to not maximize on play this time, and then I'm going to pay attention to the player or the stairs position. So we're going to say negative 300 something is what we wanted. So right about here, we want the position to get reset. Okay. I guess what we could do is just anytime our index reaches our maximum amount, we can reset the stair position. Yeah, I think that would work. So that means we're going to want let me think. Jeez. I'm going to let this play one more time, and I'm going to pause it when it reaches that point so I can copy that value. Let's see if we can get this to look right. Excuse me. Yawning. Okay, I'm behind the steps. That's good. I've been meaning to look at that. I just keep forgetting. I'm in front. Good. All right. So right about here, we want. Oh no, I'm sorry. I borked up. That's the position when we want it to reset. But again, we can just reset it manually every time we reach our maximum index value. So I need to pause it when it gets to the bottom of the stairs the first time. Okay, right here. So -6, or no, I'm sorry, -362. Here's the problem that I'm going to have. So first up, let's go ahead and paste you in there. Second, we're going to get rid of this, so we don't need you. And third, I guess we would probably want to have serialize field private vector2 loop stairs position is equal to new vector2 0f. Okay. I don't know if that's going to be valid at 16 by 10. I'm a little concerned that it's not going to be, but we'll find. Actually, no, they should be fine. It should be fine. But we will see. So, real quick, what we're going to do here is when we set the player transform, we're also going to say if player index is greater than 0, which means that we're at our maximum index value, then we're going to say stairs dot anchored position is equal to stairs loop. I'm sorry, loop stairs position. Loop stairs position. Okay. And just for fun, I'm going to make this 0.1. So we're going to basically just be like rocketing through the stairs. Honestly, the real trick is going to be... Actually, I guess that won't be too hard, will it? Finishing up this animation, so when the level actually loads, we need to make sure that the stairs stop moving and the player just moves off screen. But I guess that just means that we can start moving the player at the stairs offset and not the stairs themselves. So that actually won't be that bad. That's actually pretty easy in that case. Okay. So we're going to say up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Yeah. Now is it jerk? Okay. There's a little bit of a like hiccup there. You can kind of see it when we reach the far side. It'll do like a little bit of a move down and then back up immediately. But this actually has the extra benefit of making sure that the hero never moves off the steps, now that I think about it. Like they'll never overtake each other because they're being hard set when it gets to here. Okay, so that's pretty accurate. Okay. I'm not sure if I like having... I don't know if I like having it do the upward movement. I mean, it doesn't look bad. Just it's kind of annoying because this is the speed that we would actually be moving at probably. So let's go ahead and change our step duration to like 0.5. Like that's probably what we'll be moving at. So let's see what this looks like when it actually reaches here. Yeah, it's a lot more noticeable. But we do have it looping, which is kind of the main point of this loading screen, obviously. That means we have a little bit more of a difficult task ahead of us with positioning the lights and whatnot. But that won't be too bad because we'll just have them scroll up at the same rate that the stairs does, and then we just won't have them reset their position. they will scroll off, and once they get outside of a specific set area, we'll just have them recycle. That's not that hard. Okay, so this works at 16 by 9. Let's see what it looks like at 16 by 10. So 800. Okay. Let's see. If we're lucky, everything will be the exact same. If we're not lucky, we are not going to be very happy. Okay. What happened here? Did it automatically get set back? That would explain it. Hold on. Please tell me it just automatically gets set back. Oh, good, it did. Okay. Pause. It's about the same. Let's go ahead and slow it down, I guess. Yeah, I don't like the sort of zigzag that it, well, not the movement left and right. I mean the little bit of a hiccup that we get. I also don't like that we do drift over to the right quite a bit, which is very annoying. And I think that has to do with our player position not being exactly matched up with this label. Because our label has, I think, offsets of 10 on each side, so that's about 20 pixels that we're off by the end, which explains why it's kind of weird. So let's go ahead and do a couple of things. First up, for our actual stairs label, I am going to make sure this is centered. And then second, for our player area, I am going to give it offsets from the left and the right. We're happy that this is working in 16 by 10, so I'm going to go ahead and shift this back. All right. So let's hit save there, and let's see what this looks like. So hopefully we'll be a little bit more centered and not quite as extreme to the right. Wow, that just did not. Okay. Yep, that's about right. That's what you get for not checking that. Good. Good. Okay. Yeah. So let me redo this. Oh God. Stop that. Okay. So I believe that means that we want to actually do like, oh geez. Can we not do that? Oh no. Oh dear. Do I need to just increment these by this much? Wow, what is going on here? It's like all kinds of weird spacing going on here. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. What the heck is going on here? Okay, this is super weird. Okay. See, what makes it really weird is that if it's aligned, are they invisible? Is that the problem? Might be. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this real quick so I can keep that, and I'm gonna turn you off, and this one will be our experimentation thing. So we're gonna center this. But as you can see, I can't. It doesn't seem to actually respect the settings for this. Like, it doesn't go any farther left than this. If I try to space it out, then we get one, really weird spacing, and two, let's go ahead and do this. I'm just going to keep going until we get some wrapping happening. Like it just wraps around. But it's like I get half of my freaking rect transform here. Um, it's very weird. Especially because I'm not seeing the telltale gizmo. We're not actually seeing that, which is kind of annoying. Um, huh. Okay. New plan. I'm going to delete all of this. Then we're going to say step. Okay. I'm going to zero you out. Let's just go ahead and do this one by one. Oh, that's duh. That's why. Because it's going to start centered in the left, and I have no way of doing continuity, so I have to align it left. Okay, so I can't center text, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. It just means that I need to be a little more careful. So we'll keep that at our expected values there, and I think we'll be fine. Let's go ahead and collapse this. Hit save, and hit play just right here, because everything should initialize itself in the correct position, and if not, then we'll have to fix that. So, okay. Ooh. It actually almost seems worse on the left now. Let's go ahead and not shorten this, let's lengthen our time here. So you can see that as we get farther to the right, we actually get farther left, and as we get farther left, we get way farther left. So barely over the T. By the end, we're almost, well, we're about halfway over the T. So, I mean, it's not terrible. It's just kind of like a slight amount of drift. Because clearly on the far right, we're a little bit more over the E than we are on the far left, which we're kind of more over the T. Doesn't really seem enough for me to worry about it. So I think it's fine. Let's go ahead and get one more loop in. Nice. I do like the steps being overlaid correctly as you go down. It's a subtle thing, but I like it. Okay. We are also going to want to actually change our stairs color, now that I think about it. Because the stairs we go down is kind of more of a odd, not that. I don't really know what color I would say the stairs are. Let's go ahead and close this. But we can find out. So we're going to say oh, that's not it. Really? What did I call it? Okay, fine. It should be with the rest of the castle things. So we're going to say castle. Castle. Oh, that's right. I called it stone wall. Okay, so we're going to want to change our stairs label to be like that color-ish. So like that, I think. It's subtle, but I want my transitions to have these kind of like indicators of where you are, where you're going. And they should match the environments that you actually transition from. So let's go ahead and say, what else do we want? Okay, so the next thing we want to do is handle lights, which is going to be interesting. Also rather annoying. So I'm gonna hit pause, then play, so we can see where everything is on the first frame. Excuse me. Oh, right, it has to fade in. That's right. Okay, so here we would want to have our light spawn in, probably. And we need to mathematically determine our x coordinate. Well, do we? No, I guess it'd be more about the y coordinate, because the x coordinate's not really going to change. Yeah, excuse me. Um, so we're going to want to say, the question is, when do we want to spawn these things in? I guess we would want to spawn them in before the player can see them, obviously. And that means we would probably want to spawn them in while their area is off screen. The first area is going to be the weirdest one, honestly. But after that, I think we could start spawning thing based on player's index. So every time the player's index reaches 8, actually, yes, that's pretty simple. Every time the player's index reaches 8, and we can determine if they're incrementing or decrementing to determine the x value for the light. And then after that, we'll just replace the light occasionally with a quote. So let's go ahead and say we're going to go up to here. We're going to have a light prefab. So let's go down here. We'll say serialized field, private, rect transform. That's fine. Rect transform, light prefab. Okay, so that's going to be the prefab for the lights. We'll need another prefab for the message prefab. So to do message prefab. But as far as the light goes, we can simply say, well, no. Let me think. Okay. Let's make a class for this. So instead of just being a... Well, no. No, there's no point to doing that. Is there? Really? So I was going to maybe make a new class to handle this stuff, but I really only just need to move... I need to have a list of rect transforms for the given spawned object, so lights in this case, and then I can just move them myself, and then I'll do a distance check, I guess. If they're over a certain height or under a certain height, then I will despawn them. So let's go ahead and say serialize field, private float. We'll say despawn height is equal to I don't know, like 1,000 is probably a bit excessive. We'll say 500 F, because our UI resolution is only about 1280 by 720 on 16 by 9, 1280 by 800 on 16 by 10. Which means that if we're at a height of 500, we are definitely off screen, especially because we'll be considering this from the centered position of the screen. So the highest height that we can be on screen and visible is about 400. So at 500, we can safely despawn. All right. We are also going to need a list of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and say using sleep. No, not sleepy out. I always do that. System.collections.generic. Okay. Then we're going to have private list transform. These will be our background props, not props is equal to new transform. Okay. So here we want to say if player index is equal to stair count. Wow, what did I call it? Step count. Yeah. Is equal to step count, which I will rename this because it's got to have a capital C. Okay, is equal to step count divided by 2. Then we are going to spawn a new object. So we'll say For now, it's just going to be the one light. So I'll go ahead and say rect transform prop rect is equal to light prefab. Wow, terrible. So we'll say this is using text quest, so I need to use my pooling system. So we'll say using sleepyowl.common. Come back down here is equal to pool manager dot request light prefab. It is going to be spawned. It can't be spawned to the stairs, which is kind of annoying. And instead, it should be spawned at. I mean, it's got to be spawned under something here. I could probably have a. Yeah, you know what? I probably will have a prop area. So let's go ahead and go down here. We're going to say serialize field, private, rect transform, prop area. Okay. Yeah, spawn. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and parent it to the prop area. Frack. Right. That's going to automatically resize it. Let me think. Can I get around that? No, I can't. But I can probably do this instead. I'll say prop rect dot. Wow, not that. Oh my goodness! Stop it. Prop rect dot set transform. Oh, sorry. Set parent. Set parent. Prop area. I cannot type today. Okay. And now we need to set its offset, which is probably safe to say is just going to be prop rect dot anchored position is equal to. We'll do a vector 2 storage real quick. So we'll say vector 2 prop pose is equal to index increment question mark. So if we're going up, we want it to be on the right side. And if we're going down, we want it to be on the left. I think that's right. Okay, so if we're going up, if we're index incrementing, then we want it to be on the right. So we're going to say step. I don't know. Step count. Oh, how was I calculating it? Here, step count minus 1 times 2. Okay, so step count minus 1, and actually this will be divide or times 0.5 f, which step count is int, isn't it? So I'm actually going to change that to divided by 2, and that's because we want it to be a fourth of the way there. So if it's going up, it's going to be on the right side, which means that I want to. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so it's going to be. Oh, that's very annoying. My actual step position. So this would be step count 9 minus 1. That's 8 divided by 2. That would be 4. That would be in the middle. So I actually want to say divided by 4 because that will give me what I want. But that can give me awkward things when I divide odd numbers. Because let's say I have 11. Let's say I have 10 steps. That would be 10 minus 1, which is 9, divided by 4, which is not a whole number. So I don't want to do that. Well, okay. I'm just gonna have 2 fields for this. So we're going to say, I'm also going to go ahead and do this. Header props. We'll go ahead and come down here. We'll say header stairs. Okay. So we're going to say serialized field private. This is going to be a vector 2 left prop spawn is equal to new vector 2, and we'll just say vector 2.0 is equal to vector 2.0. Okay, go ahead and grab that. Copy and paste that in. We're going to say right prop spawn. Again, vector 2.0. We're going to come back down here. Okay, so instead of manually trying to calculate this out, we're just going to say index increment. So when we're incrementing, we want to be on the right, so we're going to say right prop spawn, else we're going to say left prop spawn. Okay. And that should be our correct index, which actually means I can just change this to prop rect dot anchored position is equal to that. And then we'll just say prop rect. Now, what did I call it? Background props. That's right. Might as well just call it rename. Yeah, we'll keep it we'll keep it like that, I guess. So we're gonna say background props dot add prop rect. Okay. So that's if we get 2 player index step count. Shite. Okay. Let me change this approach. So I can't do a full equals check here. It's too risky. We need to change this to be if the last index was less than half and the current index is at half or greater. So we're going to have to instead change this to if player index is greater or equal to step count divided by 2. So that's the second part. And then the next thing is going to be player index minus 1 was less than step count divided by 2. So if that's the case, yes. So assume step count of 9. That's what we currently have. So if the last player index was 5. So that would be player index of, nope, that's impossible. It has to be an even number for this. So that means this would be 6. So that's 6 minus 1 is 5. Is 5 less than step count divided by 2? No. So I actually want to divide that by 2. Subtract that by 2 because that's a whole counter. So that'd be 6 minus 2 is 4, which is less than that. Okay, so I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and wrap these in parentheses because now I am freaking paranoid about it. Because this is what always happens when I don't wrap things in parentheses. They get confused. Okay, so that, I think, is all we need. Oh, wait, no, I lied. In addition to doing that, we are also going to say thinking. Yeah, okay. So before we do that, every time we get to an even number, we are going to want to move all of those recs up by a little bit. So we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than background props dot count I plus plus if actually no we're actually gonna change that. So we're gonna say for int I equals, instead of 0, we're gonna say is equal to background. Oh, I can't spell background. background props dot count -1, I is greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus. Okay, we're going to subtract. We're basically going to iterate backwards because the props at the front are going to be the ones that are going off screen, and I want to make sure that if they are if they are greater than the positive version of the height or less than the negative version of the height, that they just get despawned. And if I do this going forwards instead of iterating backwards in the list, we'll get wonky numbers. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say background props dot anchored. I'm sorry, of I dot anchored position is equal to background props of I dot anchored position plus background props. I'm sorry, not that. New step off. Crap. What did I call it? What's this? Okay. I can probably actually store this as a cached vector 2 now that I think about it. Let's go ahead and do that. So here in initialize, we'll go ahead and add private vector 2 stair move offset is equal to vector 2.0. Okay, then down here in step width, we're going to just go ahead and say stair move offset is equal to this. Okay, let's go ahead and grab that. Come down here, and we're going to say that. And you're going to say that. So we don't constantly have to calculate and create new vector 2s. We can just add that one. Okay, and then at the end of that, we're going to go ahead and say if background props of I dot anchored position dot y is greater than, what did I call it, despawn height, or background props of I dot anchored position dot y is less than negative despawn height. We're going to say pool manager dot recycle background props of I dot game object. Then we're also going to say background props dot remove at I. Okay. So let's go ahead, let that compile, and then I'm going to make my light label a prefab here, and all I need to do is just parent it, and we should be fine. Okay. So let that complete, then we'll be able to do stuff. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and make this. Go ahead and select our mini games here. Plains to woods. Okay, let's create folder prefabs. Create folder. We'll call this scripts. I'll eventually have to move the castle sewer into there, but I don't want to do that right now because that'll force a recompile. Okay, so we're going to want to have the light label be a prefab. Okay, delete that. Oh, and actually, you know what? Before we do that, we're also going to want to do this. I'm going to position this all the way. So this will be our prop area. Come on, capital A. Okay. It's stretching all the way. That's good. We're going to have our prop positioned here. So let's go ahead and say, oh dear, this is actually, okay. Okay. Yeah, not ideal. Oh, and despawn height should actually be up with the props. Okay. The next thing I think I need to do is... Let me think. I guess we'll just let this play real quick. It's gonna move my, or spawn my lights in the center for now, which is fine. But I need to pause it whenever I spawn lights so that I can kind of guess where I want them to spawn in. Okay, right there. Wow, already overshot. But that is perfectly fine. So we're gonna move you. Oh, crud. Okay. Got a couple of things that I need to do here. First up, I need to turn off that mask. Second, I need to hit next there so that I can see everything. So we want this to be like right here-ish. So what, like negative... I just want to say negative... we probably want to say negative 400. It's a little awkward. Okay, so negative 400 and no, that's not what we want actually. Crap. So I gotta adjust my despawn height. So it's probably gonna actually be a fair bit larger. It's gotta be at least 600. So we're going to be at negative 5. We'll say negative 500 and positive 275. So 275 and negative 500 for that. Okay. So again, 275, negative 500, 275, negative 500, 275, negative 500, 275, negative 500, 275, negative 500. That's a really weird number. Is that really negative? That seems to be increasing. So why was it saying it was negative? I'm gonna change that to just positive 500. This one will be negative 275, I guess. Oh, that's why it's negative 500. Duh, because it's below it. We want it to be below. So we're gonna say negative 500 there, and we will let that. Yeah, duh. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this and save, and we'll see what things look like. Okay, so we're gonna save this, then have at it. Okay, moving down. I was clearly wrong. Yeah, on the left it's not too bad, but on the right it clearly needs to be farther down. So let's go ahead and looks like our left actually could be decreased a little bit. So I'm going to change that. So right spawn point is going to be negative 600. The props on the left will be negative 400. And our despawn height is going to be, we'll say, 700 for now. I'm also going to go ahead and move that up to the rest of the prefab stuff. Grab that, put you up to here. Okay. Let that compile, and then we should be good-ish. I am semi-confident-ish about it. But we should have the lights spawning in at the very least, and they should be roughly correct. They should also be below the player, so the player will always be in front of them, regardless of where they are. Let's turn off stats, turn on maximize on play, hit save, and let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Okay, so we're going to want to have Shazam! There we go. Movement. Pretty good. Pretty good. Lights, actually, both could probably move down just a little bit. Actually, the left light is pretty much okay. The right light's not that bad. I guess that they're never really in a position to overlap with the player either, are they? Nah, it doesn't look that bad. Okay. So we are going to want first up slow down so I can see what this actually looks like. Step duration 0.5. Okay. So that's probably fine. So at this point, the only things that remain are spawning in quotes instead of lights occasionally, and the end cutscene, which will have everything stand still and the player manually move. So I think we can do that. Let me think. How do we want to handle this? I really wish I could fix the slight drift that we see. It bugs me so much that it drifts farther to the left when you're to the left and farther to the right when you're to the right. It murders me, man. It just murders me. Okay. Well, we might call it a day for this dev stream, because we got everything that I was really expecting to do on the dev stream, and the rest of it's kind of going to be some polish for the most part, and getting everything that I've been talking about, swapping in the lights occasionally for quotes, and our final animation for it. But then that's the sewer level pretty much done. Then we do have to figure out a way to reverse it so that you can, when you transition from the sewers to the castle, you get it, instead of going down like this, you get it going up. That's not really that hard, I don't think. All that means is that we would have the start position be slightly different, I think. And we would change the scroll direction, but that's pretty much it. So, okay, yeah, that's, I think, a pretty good place to stop for the day. So, announcements. I don't know if I'm going to be dev streaming on Tuesday, because that's the night before I head up to Chicago to head off to GDC. I'll be sure to keep everyone updated. Keep an eye on Twitter, Discord, and all that, and I'll be sure to let everyone know if I'm going to stream. But aside from that, pretty major announcement. Nothing else really. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.